fight are very experienced, skilled fighters, skilled boxers. He's boxed internationally as an amateur, Kokhanchik. Won the Strandja tournament, well, competed in the Strandja tournament twice. The World Cup of Petroleum Countries, a big tournament in Eastern Europe, Central Asia, and a runner-up in the Kazakh Nationals. 6-1 in pro boxing, last fought with gloves on in November 2023. This is his bare-knuckle debut.
And now, introducing his opponents in the gold corner, from Russia, Elnur Suleymanov.
Suleymanov joins us from Baku in Azerbaijan, and he was an international amateur too. Has been in with some big names actually. Alexander Kishniak, Suleiman Sissoko, Israel Madrimov. 2 fights in pro boxing, a defeat and the draw. And bare knuckle, he lost on points over 3 in Moscow 4 years ago. And then in April this year, won by second round knockout in Dubai. So he's the more experienced of the two. In this code, 3 2-minute rounds.
Ladies and gentlemen, introducing to first fighting out of the back corner. He's 26 years old, standing 199 centimeters tall, official weight 79 kilograms silver. His boxing professional record, 6 victories and 1 defeat. Bare knuckle record, 1 win, 2 losses. Ladies and gentlemen, he's multiple winner and runner-up of Kazakhstan Boxing Championships. Champion of the All Countries Boxing Cup, multiple champion and winner of the international and national boxing tournament. Representing Rukny, Kazakhstan, here is Mikhail Kokhanchik.
And in the gold corner, 32 years old, 180 centimeters tall, 78.5 kilo, with 6 wins and 3 losses. 3-time champion of Azerbaijan. Best boxer of Azerbaijan in 2019. Finalist in the World Martial Arts Games. From Russia, Elnur Suleymanov. Your referee from Bulgaria, Mario Ivanov.
Okay, guys, you've been instructed in the dressing room for the rules. You know the rules, touch gloves, Richard? Okay, touch.
So, touch of fists between the two. We usually say a touch of gloves, but no gloves in this. This is bare knuckle, and going through the resumes of these two fighters, it's what I was talking about. They both box pro, they both box at a really good level as an amateur, but taking the opportunity here to box bare knuckle 3 2-minute rounds. In the white, Suleymanov, in the black, Kokhanchik. Both of these two just shaping, just in and out with that front foot at the moment, Kokhanchik. Suleymanov more just hanging on that back foot.
Yeah, Kokhanchik just trying to control that range at the moment, just trying to find the range with that jab, not willing to commit with that backhand, because once you do that, you're in range and you're vulnerable. Kokhanchik was the guy, Suleymanov was the guy that committed there with that backhand. But you have to be careful in doing that, especially with bare-knuckle boxing.
And what's interesting about this is, when people look at this, when they consider it, if you like, the question you're asking yourself is, how does somebody's jaw stand up to getting hit without a glove on? But those gloves are just as much about protecting the hands as they are about the other person's face. And how do your hands stand up to landing one without a glove on?
Great point. You know, when you've got gloves on, and listen, I can talk about this firsthand, you've got gloves on, you hit the top of the head, it really does kill, you know, over time. So doing it with bare hands, you know, that's something else.
Good stiff jab there, good stiff jab, and that just has brought a bit of blood from the eye there of Suleymanov.
Yeah, Suleymanov picked up quite a bad cut there. The blood flowing into the eye.
And that's the difference, really. If you land a good, solid shot without that glove on, then the chances are it's going to do some damage.
And look at the difference now in body language. Kokhanchik up on his toes, he fancies this and works well off that jab again, and that can be the difference. Even that jab, when you're landing with the bare hand, that's the difference, you know. Solid shots are gonna cause problems. Good right hand there on the bell, though. Oh, big hook!
And then the left come back there from Kokhanchik and knocked Suleymanov down. He went for that right hand over the top, which did land, as Spencer described it. Then he came straight back with a left and put Suleymanov down. The final few seconds of the round, there goes the bell. And that's the interesting thing about this, just from watching that opening round, and it's the first round I've ever commentated on bare-knuckle. They're looking to pick their punches, they're looking to be sparing. You can't just go in there and swing, because the consequences of getting clipped are just far too serious. He's been hit with one solid jab, and that's opened up that cut there. Then right at the end of the round, he got hit with a solid left hook, and down he went.
Yep, Suleymanov paid the price there. Like you say, Andy, I think that it's much more strategic, because if you make one little fundamental mistake, you pay the price, and there's serious consequences. You know, we're not talking about bruised eyes, we're talking about cuts opening up here. Kokhanchik's up on his toes, he's feeling good, but he's working the range very well there. And Suleymanov is the guy that's really marked up there. He's going to have to be careful here in the second round.
A little bit of damage on the inside of the nose, around the bridge of the nose towards the right eye, as we get underway in round two. And there's a good level of technical ability being shown by these two, as we would expect, given the resume. He's looking for that long right hand again there, Suleymanov. Didn't quite manage to land it, but got that guard up. And you look at Kokhanchik, he's quite fast twitch, isn't he? He's got good, quick hands, and again, he lands a left hand there, and you can see the blood in the eye is becoming a problem here for Suleymanov. And Kokhanchik just looking to set his feet and let those hands go, and this is exactly where you cannot find yourself.
Face really swollen up now as well over the eyes there. Suleymanov looking seriously marked up, and you just wonder how long he's going to be able to continue. He's showing a lot of heart, a lot of character, pushing forward, but it's been some boxing display so far from Kokhanchik, who's up on his toes and using that range so well.
And the problem he's got here, Suleymanov, as well, is that right eye is closing. It's not completely closed, but the vision will be slightly obscured, and that just makes things even more difficult. There's not a mark on Kokhanchik, whose movement has been really, really good.
Yeah,
his hand speed has been good, and his accuracy has been good. It's been all round a very good performance so far.
It really has. And look at the way he's just controlling things now, keeping it at range. He knows he's got his man busted up. Doesn't want to take any chances. That eye really is looking bad, Andy.
It is, into the final 30 seconds of round two. And Kokhanchik knows that he doesn't have to do anything crazy here. He just has to wait for an opportunity, almost, because he's well in control here. He's well in charge, and that's another aspect to it. You can never switch off at any point here. You get caught with something, even half caught with something, it can do you some real damage.
I think that's the excitement about this sport, is that, you know, it's like one little mistake, half a little mistake, and you pay the price. But good 2 rounds there from Kokhanchik, who walks back to his corner, unmarked, looking very pleased with himself. And you look over into the opposite corner, Suleymanov he's looking busted up, man.
He is. And when he had the opportunity in that round, Kokhanchik, he took it. And that's another key, isn't it? When you land something, you've got to follow it up. You've got to follow it up, and you've got to really, really make it count. Because when he backed him up to the ropes on the far side, and he's just trying to cover up, when you're just trying to cover up without those much bigger gloves on to give you that surface area to protect yourself, it's just not as easy to do. Yeah. When you have the advantage, you've got to press it home.
Absolutely. You know, like you say, you've got to be so defensively minded there, but it's not easy to do without the gloves.
They're just checking that he can see okay out of that eye, the referee there. He put his hand over the left eye and asked him, you know, can you see out of the right eye, and had a good look himself to satisfy himself, the referee, that is the case, because you ask a fighter that question and they'll say yes. It's pointless asking them.
Listen, absolutely, you know, the gladiators. Oh, big right hand there.
Really was just caught Kokhanchik on the move. He doesn't seem to be too marked up from it. Maybe just took the sting off it. He was skirting across the ropes as it was thrown. And he's maybe slightly unfortunate there, Suleymanov, that didn't do a bit more damage, because it looked pretty solid from where we are.
Yeah, it was a lovely shot, and I think that Kokhanchik was maybe just riding it, but Suleymanov would take a little bit of hope from that. But now look at Look at what's going on. Kokhanchik controlling that space again, pushing forward, up on his toes. And the distance, the judgment of distance here for Kokhanchik is the thing that's winning in this fight, because the range here is perfect and is making it so difficult for Suleymanov to get in range and land anything significant.
Well, this is clever from Kokhanchik, isn't it? Because he's deliberately just out of range a lot of the time. He'll fire out that jab nice and quick, and it comes back quick too, and it doesn't quite reach, so he doesn't leave himself in danger, but it's enough to occupy his opponent and keep him off it.
Yeah, it certainly is. You know, it's been a great performance here from Kokhanchik, who's controlled this at range on the inside and going for the big finish as well. Suleymanov needs to come back with something.
Went down to the body there, Kokhanchik, as well, which is often the neglected area in bare-knuckle, but those body shots without the glove, wow, they would dig.
Oh, and a solid jab again there, just rammed in the face of Suleymanov, and he really felt the weight of that one.
It's been a good watch, this, because, as we've been saying, it's a good level of technical ability, particularly by Kokhanchik, who gets caught with a right hand there right towards the end, but ever since he landed that really stiff jab, and you just saw that cut open up, since then he's been on top. He's been on top the whole fight, and that was a very good performance from him.
Yeah, Kokhanchik completely dominated that one, started fast, marked his opponent up, and Suleymanov was always on the end of something very, very tough. Then whatever he tried, he was coming forward, holding his feet, falling in with his shots, leaving himself open for the counter punch. And yeah, the better boxing skills won that from Kokhanchik, but they both showed great character and a lot of courage in there. Suleymanov, he could have ducked out of that, Andy. The face was bashed up, the eyes were bleeding heavily. There were times there when he must have been asking himself serious questions, but what he done was, he showed a lot of courage, and you have to appreciate that.
That was Elnur Suleymanov backstage not long before we see him. And what was interesting about watching that for me was seeing up close the difference in the kind of dynamic. In pro boxing, it's a high failure rate sport. Most of what you throw won't land, but a lot of the time you'll just throw anyway. You don't ever want to get hit back in return, but they throw punches more sparingly because the consequences of being hit and being hit clean is just that much greater. And then when you do get a chance, when you do get through, you have to pounce. You can't mess around.
Ladies and gentlemen, after the end of action, your winner by unanimous decision, Mikhail Kokhanchik, Kazakhstan. And an applause for his opponent, Elnur Suleymanov.
Just posing for a few pictures.
Yeah, cracking little contest, that one. A new experience for both of us, to be honest. Didn't know what to expect. I've seen a little bit of it on TV. First time I've actually seen it live. I enjoyed it. I think there's a lot more technical side to it, and I think that what the IBA are trying to achieve here is showing, you know, their bare-knuckle boxing. There is a home for it, and I think that, yeah, I think the crowd enjoyed it.
I think what they're keen to emphasise that it is boxing. It's the same rules, and if you want to succeed, then you have to be a highly trained, disciplined athlete. And there's our left hand that put him down. That smearing left hand that put him down. And you look at the ability that these two displayed, and there's a nice stiff jab again. And this was where he was backed up to the ropes, and Kokhanchik just didn't panic, kept his distance, and let his hands go. As we said at the start, that we might be being unfair here, I don't know, because we've been on the outside of this. But it had an image problem, bare-knuckle. People would look at it and feel that it was a bit underground. What are the rules? Are there any rules? That's ignorance on my part, to be honest with you. But that's one thing they wanted to make very, very clear today, is that this is a